Hello guys, so this last part we're going to work on is totally optional. So if you want to have a flat toony character like this with a flat shade, that's totally fine. You can actually save this and you can call it quit. But we want to push this a little bit, and you can use this to kind of add more lighting settings. So let's start with the face and I'll explain to you what I mean. And so over here on the face, if I select the face, I'm actually selecting this face shape. If you remember, we have the face shape here. We can make it smaller, bigger, larger. Any way we want to do that, we can change the face. So what I want to do is to add a little bit of lighting setting and then have a gradient for the skin tone. So to do that, I'll hit the gradient tool and I'll just click and drag over here towards the right. Now we're going from left to the right, like so, like that. And the more I drag this, the more it goes away from the face. So you can actually see we can select two sets of colors. So I'll just drag this over here and I'll click this dial. So we're going from this skin tone to this. We're going from light to dark. So this dark edge right here, I could drag this to make the color more interesting, like that, and you can brighten this up just a little bit. So what's happening is we're going from this color, and I could just push this here as well. So we're going from one color and it's blending into another color, like that. So you can see if I drag this towards the left, it's actually adding more of the light. So we can actually use that to add a little bit of lighting effect on our character's face just by using this gradient. And if we pull this, it brings it really closer so you can see that effect. And if we push that away, we're getting our normal stuff. So I'll just drag this slightly over here so we have this orangey kind of like color for the skin. So let's go ahead and jump to the body and use that same technique for the body as well. And I can drag it from top down here to bottom, and you can see it's giving a sort of like lighting effect. And we can even rotate this to make this part darker or this part lighter. It depends. And this is actually affecting everything that's clipped to our body, which might not be a desirable effect we want. But this just, by the way, show you that it's very possible to use it like that. So let's go over here and let's just drag this. And we can move this away, totally away from our skin, and just drag this to rotate it. So, and I'll just drag this over here and push this up. Like that. Just set this over here to this side, or you can rotate it to any angle so you can actually see what we have right here. Right, so we have a nice little gradient there, and I can just pull this, start bringing that back just to blend it to the skin. All right. So let's look at the fabric, the outfit as well. So we have the outfit shape here, and what we can do is just drag that from the bottom all to this side, depending on where you want to have that little light setting, like so. So I'll just drag over here and you can actually see that. So now you notice it's really affecting how our shapes are. So we can do this by looking for a blend mode that will bring some of those details back. So for instance, if I set this to multiply and begin to dial down the opacity, you can see we can retain that little lighting information here while we have our lights here. So let's go back to our body and see how we can use that to kind of like bring back some of those details we're losing here. So in case you just want it to be around here, for example, and rotate it like so. If we wanted to emphasize this neck, all we need to do is to go down here click the neck curve, set the blend mode to multiply to darken it, and then we can just reduce the intensity so we can still get some of that effect while we have this soft fall off. So that's one trick. The second trick I wanted to show you is if you wanted to soften your shadows to make it kind of like soft in case you don't want these hard cell shading type shadows, I'll use the curve as an example and the cheeks as an example as well. So I'll click on the curve, go to FX and turn on the Gaussian blur, and notice what happens. I'll just zoom in on the neck. Notice what happens when I begin to turn on this blur. Right, so you can see we have a nice gradient fall off along the neck. So you can see we have a nice little lighting, but we have that gradient fall off along the neck. We can try out the same thing on the chin, add that effect, turn on the Gaussian blur, and just drag this a little bit so you can actually see. So we have the shading there, it exists, and it's making everything super duper smooth. So let's quickly fix these other edges. Not you, this one. I'll just add the FX, the Gaussian blur, and just dial down a bit, like so. And let's select the ear, add effects, add our little Gaussian blur, and bump up the radius. And then do the same for the inner ear. I'll just zoom in. This one, turn off this effect and drag that a little bit. And one cool thing about a gradient is, let's just select this neck shape of the body, and then if we hit the gradient, we can add a little bit of texture on this. So if we click on this, we can, a little bit of noise. Just drag this and it will give it. So if you actually see what's happening here, we have a lot of noise. Just drag a little bit of this just to give that skin a little bit of texture. So let's drag this over here to the face. We're on our gradient tool. I'll just move this up a bit. Click on this, click on color, and right here where this says noise, you can just drag this. And you can see we have a little noise here, but I'll just drag this a bit down here, nothing too serious. And if you're feeling ambitious like I am, we can jump to the hair, but the hair is going to need a lot of work, so I'm just going to leave the hair, but we can just drag this and you can actually see the effect you have like that. Now another thing I like to point out is with the gradient tool you can have multiple points. For instance, we can see this is our first startup color, this is our end color. We can have a color in between. I can just show you what I mean. I'll just add this nice little green like that. And so what we're going to end up with is having slight, like two-tone color showing through like that. I'll just leave it like that, just a little bit subtlety, nothing too serious, and we can drag out the position how we want that. So if we want more of that, or we want this to be tending towards the purple side, so I'll just leave it like this. So what we're going to do now is just create a nice little background for our character, because we want our character to stand out a bit instead of using, so we have a background already. So I'll turn off the sketch and it's over here. So if we zoom out, you can see we have a nice little background. It's not super bad. I'll click on this to get rid of that gradient gizmo. So what I want to do is we can use the gradient tool to actually make the background interesting. So I'll hit the gradient tool and I'll just drag this down here. So it's going from white to a nice gradient tone. So top like that, like so. So what I'm actually doing is, if I drag the gradient, if I drag this handle to the top, we're getting more of the gray down, we're getting more of the white. So I'll just drag this to a point where we have some of the white and then the gray it's showing down here, and you can always change these two colors to any color you want, any color at all. You can make it like this. We can even use a lime green like that. We can use this color, basically any color, and then play around with your gradients and see how you want them to look like. I think this one's super nice. Because we can use any other gradient that's nicer than that one. So here we can select our character and then move our character down a bit like so, because you know, yeah, we don't want her to look like she's clipped. So yeah, we'll just select this, and this could be our final design. And what we can do is we can make her big like so, just push her and make her super big and super huge like so, and then we can drag this down a bit so she can take up more of that room. And now we have a nice little comic strip panel, and we can add things like, we can go over here to the custom, left click and hold. I believe I have a call out button, call out, and we'll just set this to a comic style, and we can add a text or any other thing. Let's try let's make her, you know, think mechanical, because she's being calculated like so. So let's just add this here. Let's add something nice like that, and basically that's it. So if you want, you can add a text that says hi or hello or anything like that. And for this, we don't want this to be super bright, so we'll just set this color. So again, I'll just leave it like that. So for some final tricks, if I select the girl, the character, because you know we actually created a line and we have the girl in that line. If we select the girl, we can do something like change the entire color or add an entire effect. And by doing that, if we go over here to this adjustment layer and we do things like vibrance, so this is going to add this vibrance effect to the entire layer. That's the body, necklace, face, everything. And if I drag this over here and drag the saturation, you can actually see she's so saturated and so weird. And we just drag this, she's now desaturated. So you can do things like, oh, it's a sad scene, and you can change her eyebrows, or you can say, hey, you know, I just want a little bit of color, or you could just bump the color up. So that's one. Apart from the saturation, if you click on the group again, you can add more effects. For example, let's try HSL, and with HSL we can do a luminosity shift like so, just the entire lighting on the scene. We can add a lot of effects there. We can just make it super white like so, you know, like a ghost. We can shift the saturation, right, just to change that. We can even shift the hue to turn her into an alien like so, or you can have a night scene, so just jump over to the blues and you can have a neon kind of like effect like so. And with all these, again, you can't, if you want to have a subtlety on that effect, click on HSL and then go to your opacity and dial it down. So this is just 3% of that effect. I'll just set 1% or 2% of that effect. And here on our vibrance, it's on 100%. I could just turn it off. I don't think we're using anything. And to bring it back, double click. I'll just drag this up, make it more vibrant. And I'll dial the opacity down because we don't want 100% of that effect taking place. And finally, to export this, so let's just save this. We can, let me just show you another final trick. If we go over to our background, we can add an effect. And let's see, we can add an outline. And then when we click on the outline, let's use white for the outline. Now we can't see anything because the radius is all the way down. And then we'll set it to inside. And we'll use a solid color for the fill. Okay, for some reason it's evading me. So yeah, okay, good. So it had to be it had to just be quite large. So I'll just drag this, and you can see we have a nice little white outline. It could actually be any color you want. Be any color, you can set it to any color you want. So I'll just leave it here like that and just drag this towards white. And there you have it. So you can actually use this technique to create a lot of variation, add some lighting, add some effect. And also what I failed to show you that when we select the gradient, there are different types. You have solid, linear, elliptical, radial, conial, bitmap. For example, we can click this circle like so and put it behind her like that. Just add a nice little effect. And I'll switch over to gradient and I'll change this to radial. And what this is going to do is to add a nice little halo glow from the center using these two color extremes. So if I drag this over here, and let's make this one at the ending blue, like so. So you can see we have a nice little halo behind her, like so. Like that. So that's how you can create a nice bubbly effect like that. We could just hide her and see how that bubble is standing behind our background. So we'll turn this off. So you have a nice little bubble there, and it's so moving in all its bubbly glory. And again, like I said, we can add a nice effect to just this bubble. Let's add an outer shadow and then do things like increase the radius. And let's make this color red, like so. You can do a lot of things to it. You may need to group it. So we have a group with the bubble. And now within that bubble group, we can try an outer shadow. And drag the radius and offset and play around with it. But we'll just stick to this for now. And hopefully you've learned a few tricks on how you can use Affinity Designer. There are lots of tricks, lots of tricks, but just remember, you're just out there to have fun, and it could get very difficult and intimidating sometimes. But I don't want you to worry about that. Just have fun creating characters, and I'll see you in the next short Affinity Designer character creation course. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Peace.